through, okay?
Okay.
But they should be able to hear us now.
We appear to be live.
Yep, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Sorry that we got a late start. We had a little technical difficulties on my end here, and I think we got everything working. So I'm glad that you're joining us tonight. We've got a great show. We've got the one and only Architechtolder. I'm very excited to have him as my special guest tonight, and we got a lot of good things planned. So we're going to get started in just a moment. If you could give me a comment, click on the feed, and then you should see either a live chat at the bottom if you're on your phone, or comments over at the right-hand side if you're viewing. And just say hello, let us know you're watching, and let us know if you can hear us, okay? And we will get started momentarily. All right, let's see. We'll get started in just a moment, folks. I'm gonna chat in the chat. So if you're on X and you can see this, let me know, folks. Want to make sure everybody can hear us, okay? All right. I'm not seeing anybody comment here, and it seems like Ayo, if you can hear me, buddy, I dropped the call with you, so I cannot hear you. All right, I see Teresa is on here. Heyo, I can see you're still in the studio, but I do not hear you. I'm going to try to call you on X, okay? So one moment, folks. We're just having a little bit of technical difficulties here. It says the other person is unavailable.
Hello? Hello?
I can see you're trying to talk, Ayo, but nothing is coming through, and for whatever reason, our phone call on X is not going through. Try to call me, Ayo, if you don't mind, on the messenger on X.
Just my volume default headphones.
Maybe it's because I'm on X here on the laptop too. I don't know.
I don't know. There ain't nothing.
Man. Folks, I'm sorry. We're having technical difficulties
Hello?
here. Ayo,
Yes,
try to call me. I can't hear a word you're saying.
And
Our X direct message phone call dropped. When I try to call you, it says you're not available. Oh. All right, folks, I don't know why we're having. All right, it looks like Jen says she can hear us both. Well, I wonder why I cannot hear AO. All right, let me think about this. What can I do to so I can hear AO? Give me 1 minute. and I'm going to try to fix this, okay? Just hang in there, everybody. Let me see. All right. Okay, Ayo, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me, sir? My speaker is now working, but I cannot hear you. This is a problem we were having earlier. Let's see. I'm gonna try calling you one more time on X. Yeah. All right. You talking, Ayo? Try to talk for me. Let me see if I can. All right, folks, can you hear me? If you can hear me, say yes. And if you can hear Ayo, do you mind talking, buddy? And let's see if they can hear you too. I don't know why I am not hearing you. Well, folks, I don't know what to say without being able to hear Ayo. This is going to be a pretty. Can you say hello, Ayo?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, I can hear you now. Hallelujah! All right, I can hear you.
Okay,
All right.
good.
I am really
I
sorry.
ain't touching nothing.
All right.
Can you hear the music? There's music playing in the background. I don't know what.
Yeah. I've got the music playing here. We're going to turn down the music. We are going to get started, folks. I am deeply sorry, folks. We've been struggling here for a few minutes. I don't know. We got gremlins in the electronics tonight. So sorry we're starting late, but I'm glad that you're watching. We've got Architechtolder in the house, which I am super, super excited about. This is one of my favorite people of all time on X. I just want to share a little bit about him before I turn it over to him. I'm fairly new to X and didn't quite know my way around here. And this guy has been so kind. He's kind of taken me under his wing and looked out for me. He's retweeted stuff. He's encouraged me, and he's kind of shown me the ropes. And he just fills every day with beauty, with the wonderful pictures that he posts, the encouraging things, the thoughtful things that he tells us to think about, about our culture and it disappearing and beauty. So every day my life is filled with Ayo, and tonight we get to talk with him for an hour. So I'm really happy. Architechtolder, thank you so much for joining us tonight, buddy. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yes, and I apologize for the stress of trying to get all the technical stuff worked out. We got to work out now. Yeah, it's been that way for me too. So I was just wondering, Architectolder, can you kind of start us off? Your account really intrigues me. You share a lot of amazing stuff. You've got quite a following. You're very passionate about a lot of things. And kind of what inspired you to start your account on X? And how has your journey on X kind of changed since you started it? Like, what did it start out like? How has it gotten to the point that it's at? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yes, April the 15th, 2019 is the day that you may remember something happened in Paris. And that was when Notre Dame Cathedral burned down. And I had I'd heard of Notre Dame Cathedral because I've heard of the Hunchback of Notre Dame when I was a kid, but I didn't really know anything about the cathedral. Well, as I walked in that day, I saw the spire fall. When it was on fire, and it fell, and I was coming there and watched it as it fell. It was, it's kind of almost getting dark when it fell. I think they said it come within 30 minutes of that entire place just absolutely collapsing. So a big shout out to the French firefighters. Absolutely. But anyway, the next day I got up and went and got my morning coffee and sat down and said, Googled. I mean, it come up on whatever I pulled up, and I started looking at Notre Dame Cathedral. And I didn't know, I'd heard the word Gothic, but I didn't know what it really meant. And I got to looking at it. Then you go to, I'll butcher the name of these, but charts and Amiens, and there's so many just beautiful Gothic cathedrals. So it kind of captivated me. And when, I'm just a regular guy that, there's no way that I should be talking about some of the things I talk about, because it just wasn't anything that was really present in my life. So I got to look at this, and I started using words like beautiful and objective beauty and captivating, and just words like that. This just doesn't come up, and it affected me that much. So for me, I looked at that and I said, you know what, this is what I want to do. So that was that was April, and I think I gradually started going that way. And then finally about September, I just shut the other account down. So this is what I'm going to do. And I've been doing it ever since. I was doing politics, and, when Trump came down, I'm very, very conservative, as you might guess. And when Trump came down the escalator, that was everything that I wanted somebody to say. So, but ever since then, I've been on the band of let's show people what we can show them and try to make our points that way, rather than just, writing it out and saying I'm right and you're wrong.
No, yeah. That's a good point. Instead of having a verbal dialogue and a bunch of reading and back and forth, just show them a picture, and, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and it can inspire and it can make you reflect, on your own culture. That's pretty powerful. I'm fairly similar. I came to X, and I got really excited. I had never been, I had not done much traveling abroad. And in the last 10 years, I've been blessed to have quite a few trips. And in doing so, man, it has really opened my eyes to how much just beautiful cultures out there, beautiful history, beautiful people, and so many things to get excited about. And so I wanted to share pictures from my trips, on X, and see other people's pictures and just kind of enjoy it that way. And I got turned on to your account and some other accounts, Mambo Italiano, Culture Explorer, quite a few others. And man, it just like lit a fire in me. And I thought, this is some really important stuff. And of course, I've been concerned about our culture for so long. I've got kids. Well, my daughter turns 21 tomorrow. But they're kids to me, but, I worry about their future. And so I think that this is important stuff we're talking about, important stuff you're posting about. And so I really appreciate that. Can you tell me a little bit, AO, about your journey on X? You've told me before, like the algorithm it's always changing, it seems like, but it seems like things have changed in the last, maybe year or so. How has it changed, do you think? And, does it affect what you do on X or how you go about your day on X?
Well, yes and no. I'll tell you this. I'm as far as reach goes, as far as being able to get impressions, I'm probably at 90%, maybe 95, between 90 and 95%. of what I was
Okay.
in July 2023. I ain't the
Okay.
only one. You know, it's got all of us. I don't know if it has to do with the money when they changed the money and started paying creators. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but to me, it happened before that because I'd say September 2023, I was gaining 500 followers a day through the week,
Wow.
and I went from $500 followers a day to 50 to whatever I got now. And I mean, my numbers kind of just stay the same. There's a lot of people follow and there's a few people unfollow, but the number stays the same. So I just don't know what's going on with it. I tell you this, I think there is some merit to listening to these guys that are monetization coaches and all, but I just quit doing it. You know, it was like, I remember taking my son, we walked out of a baseball game one day and there was a mother on one side of the press box and a father on the other side of the press box, and the kid was in the batter's box, and they were yelling hands, elbows, ankles, feet, and I was like, I told my son, I said, "There's no way this kid's going to hit the ball." I just go in there, put on what you want, and then take a look at it and see if you like it, see if you're making good progress or not. But I kind of do. I goof around a little bit, but most of what I say is coming straight from me. I don't try to impress people. I just tell them what's I'm about, and then more importantly, it's not me. It's let me show you what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I think that authenticity is something I think I can speak for everybody when we say we really appreciate that about you. We know who you are. There's no fluff. It's take it or leave it, like it or yeah, I mean it definitely is inspiring. Well, one thing I really enjoy about your post, AO, is you post sometimes grand cathedrals, beautiful gigantic places that are on postcards and things like that, but you'll just go for a walk, and I've seen you live stream a walk along the creek or a picture of a path in the woods that you're taking a morning walk. And man, I'm not trying to jump the gun on our discussion for tonight, but it seems like that's important. So many people recognize beauty in these expensive, grand monuments. But man, there is just beauty all around us. And it's important to take time to slow down and to notice the details and to see the beauty that's just everywhere. I mean, do you agree with that? Is that why you do that?
I agree with 100%. And it calms me down, and that's one of the things I told you today. I was stressed. I need to get out on the trail somewhere. I don't necessarily, I'm like you. I don't necessarily have to go to a museum. I don't have to go to a cathedral, but I don't mind going, but I can go find it. And especially as you grow as a photographer, you're able to find the angles to show it to people rather than, you remember Olin Mills back in like the 70s and 80s where the Olin Mills guys would come through and everybody go to the school or the church and they would 1, 2, 3, everybody looked like a dork when I say cheese. And, I hate that kind of photography. So I want to show, if I'm taking a picture of a person, I want to show you what they are on the inside and just let the outside kind of be the image, but what are they thinking? What are they feeling? That kind of thing. It's a lot easier to do it in black and white to me. When I get out in the trail, sometimes it changes with nature, but I really enjoy black and white photography.
Yeah, it's funny. Black and white, it seems like having color would add another dimension to it, but there's something that black and white, a quality that black and white photography has that color doesn't. Right. I'm sure people have studied that and written about it, but it's above me. But yeah, I definitely agree. Certain, dramatic lighting and things like that really, really come through. Jen C from California says, I think that's so important. There's beauty everywhere, and it's on us to share it if we can, and if we can photograph it.
Wait a second. That's not Jen C from California. That's Jen C from Canada, I believe.
Oh, okay.
That's my buddy.
Well, welcome, Jen. That's great.
I asked her if she wanted to be the 51st state, and she's declined.
Well, I'm glad you guys can stay friends, even through the politics. That's funny. Let me ask you, AO. So we've talked a little. Yeah, I mean, your name is Architechtolder,
Right.
and how did you come up with that name? And what is it about architecture that draws you to it? And kind of how do you personally define beauty in architecture?
Um, Architectolder was back way back when I put it. When I started that account, my name went on it, and somebody that I didn't particularly want that was in my contact list, it popped up on their phone. Well, and I kept my title was like old architecture, but it kept suggesting that it was old architecture 6492 or something like that. So
Yeah,
I didn't want that. I wanted a name, and I wanted that to be my at too. So
yeah,
it finally popped up architect. I was kept putting in old architecture, and it finally popped up architect older, and I was like, well, nobody's got that, and there was
yeah.
no numbers attached, so I went with that, and that kind of stuff. I didn't, to tell you the truth, I never would have expected this to happen, to get 200,000 followers, and Elon follows me, and
Oh
Jordan
wow,
Peterson follows me, and
that's
there's a
awesome.
lot of people that I got the utmost respect for that
Yeah,
follow me, and are mutuals, but just cannot believe that this has happened and blown up like it has. So
that's
it's been a
great.
great experience.
Yeah, I think somebody else I talked to, we all assumed you were like a retired architect,
Right.
but I totally understand how you get the name. It's hard sometimes picking a name on X. Um, are you able to tell us about architectural styles that you're drawn to? You talked about Gothic. Are there certain details that draw you to those, and also maybe an example of a building or a space, a piazza or something like that, that really speaks to you and you think is a great example that everybody should see?
Well, the first thing was Gothic because it came out of Notre Dame. I saw Notre Dame, and I found I went and looked at the Gothic cathedrals. But the first one I really studied, I took a course back during COVID. I took a course on Gothic cathedrals, and
Okay.
the Gothic style, and it started around the 1200s. So these people were doing the most beautiful buildings to me that's ever existed is the
Yeah.
Gothic, and they were doing it in the 1200s with this beautiful stained glass, and the soaring cathedrals and the
Yeah.
Gothic windows and everything. And on the outside, it's important to remember just for a tidbit to know they back then most people couldn't read. So the outside of the building, especially around the doors, you'll see all these carvings, and what they were doing was telling stories. I always call it stories written in stone, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what they were. Then the Gothic windows, they believed that God was in the light. God was everything, everywhere. So if the 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 style then was, heavy blocks and little windows. It was almost like a fortress. Well, Gothic opened everything up, and it
Yeah.
invited the light in, and that way they didn't have to have so many lamps and everything. So when the sun was shining through the windows, you could see the different colors, and it was like having God in the sanctuary. And you were present with God in His in His building. So that was what it came out of. There was an abbot Sujet. I probably mispronounced that, but Saint Denis was the first one in Paris. The first Gothic cathedral. It's quite a story on that. We studied
Oh, wow.
that course, and it's that was the first one to me. From that, I mean, some of those cathedrals, and Notre Dame, Paris is just beyond beautiful. There's just no other word for it. From that, the next one I found was again in Paris was the French opera, the Paris Opera,
Oh,
Garnier.
okay.
That kind of broadened my horizons because I went back into that, and started looking at that and just thought, my God, it's just the most beautiful stuff you've ever seen in your life. Now, the mural in the top of it was done by, I can't remember that guy's, Mark Chagall, and it's terrible. But the rest of that building is absolutely wonderful. And
Yeah.
I got hate mail for featuring that one so much because every picture I could find, I put on put on about going. I mean, it just blew me away. It blew me away in a similar way that Notre Dame Paris did the first time I ever really looked at it. So
It's funny what people will spend energy and time on sending hate mail over, isn't it? That's funny. Man, I was in Paris last summer with my wife, and unfortunately the Notre Dame Cathedral was closed still for the repairs. It was right when the Olympics were going on, so it was kind of a logistical nightmare. But we did get to see Sainte-Chapelle, and that is just filled with stained glass, absolutely gorgeous. And of course, Notre Dame from the exterior. And we went to Versailles and saw all the other normal things you'd see, the Louvre and things like that. And definitely want to head back to see Notre Dame now that it's reopened. It's quite fantastic. Hey, it looks like Gen C's taken off. Hey, have a good evening. Be safe. Really appreciate you tuning in. And hey, this is recorded, so you can tune in, check it out when you get a chance. Thanks, Jen. So you recently took a trip, AO, to Rome, if I'm not mistaken, right. And you shared quite a bit from there. How did Rome? Okay, let me ask you this: how was Rome different than what you were expecting? And what was your impression of Rome when you were there? Kind of just talk about Rome, how it changed you or what you thought about it.
Rome was, let me tell you this first. I selected Rome because of Bernini. Okay. Bernini, if you know anything about my account, you know that I'm absolutely in awe of that guy. And yeah, he is all over Rome. I mean, you throw a rock from Bernini to Bernini to Bernini, and St. Peter's is St. Peter's, but it's also St. Peter's and Bernini's, what it really should be named, because I'm telling you, the guy is all over.
Yeah, he is.
Rome to me, I didn't have anything to compare it to, so I thought it was kind of like maybe like an American city. But I went over there and it was completely different vibe, completely different feel, and it took me a couple of days to get settled over there, I guess you would say. But I really liked it. I mean, it was like I was walking places at 2:00 in the morning in a big city, and I got lost coming back from the Vatican one night, and had to do a lot of walking because I got on the wrong bus, and it's.
Oh yeah.
Long story short, I mean, there was like, here come a bunch of guys, and I had to go through like a small. They were doing construction, and I had to walk through that to get to where I was going, and I was like, here we go, here we go. The old man's going in right here, and about that time, they looked up and said, "John." And just kept on walking. I mean, I was like, whew. And after that, I met a reporter over there, and we had coffee, and she said it's completely different from America. She said, my father comes over here and he wants his gun. He ain't got his gun. And he said, I was out walking my dogs at 3:00 in the morning, in my pajamas. It's like it's just not the same as over there. So number one, that struck me. But the thing about Rome to me is I knew what to expect from the big things. Okay. I knew what I wanted to go to the Pantheon. I wanted to see that. I wanted to go to the Fountain of Four Rivers. I wanted to go to a lot of them, like St. Maria Sopra Minerva. I wanted to see that. But I found a lot of these little churches that the door would be open. So I just walked in. Yeah. And it's like it hits you like a ton of bricks, man. It's just amazing that this thing is set here. Like there's nothing in America that I've been in.
Right.
Even to compare for this thing. I went into a 900-year-old monastery, and I was just blown away, just absolutely blown away. I really wish that I could figure out a way to take people over there and take them around and let them see all this stuff. I try to do it with the camera, let you see it through my eyes. A lot of my videos, I'll put Walt with me. It's amazing. I mean, it just blows me away. And it's like I say, I'm Joe Everyman. And if I could go over and it can hit me like this, it can hit everybody else like that. And that's kind of my political angle. If it will do this to me, it will do it to you and your brother and your sister and everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, man, there's so much there. So much I can relate to. Well, I'll start kind of where you ended. As a teenager, I had opportunities to travel Europe with my parents, and I was like, oh no, I don't need to go over there. I'm American, and America's the best, and all that. And I'm still a proud American. People, I'm I'm a proud American. But when I finally went abroad, it just opened my eyes, and I've made so many friends around the world: Japan, Mexico, Denmark, Italy, all over, in the UK and Egypt. And it's like, I don't know. I just realized behind the governments, behind all the politics, people are generally like you and me. They might eat different food or wear different clothes, but at the end of the day, they're getting up early in the morning because they want to take care of their kid or their spouse. They care about their parents. They want peace. And, there are things worth fighting over for sure. But I think a lot of times it's the governments that bring this stuff on for agendas that we don't even know about. And they tell us, a bunch of stuff that we believe because we don't know any better. But I just realized, I don't know. It just opened my eyes a lot, traveling and then seeing these places like you're talking about. To walk through Rome, I had the same idea going in. I was like expecting, okay, I want to see the Colosseum, I want to see the Pantheon. And one of our tour guides mentioned, hey, there's a little church around the corner. It's got Peter's chains in it. Okay. He just mentioned Peter's chains. And we were like, okay, well, it's not far from here. So we walk in, like in Rome, there's just churches, beautiful historic buildings everywhere. But from the outside, this was like so unassuming. It just looked like a normal building in Rome. I wouldn't have thought it was some glorious cathedral or anything. So we go inside, and it about knocked my socks off. Right. Not only are St. Peter's chains and at the end of the church, but over to the right is the carving of Michelangelo. I'm sorry, the carving of Moses by Michelangelo that I had seen in art books since I was a little kid. And, I just like happened upon it in Rome, and I could not believe it. I was like, this thing, and there was like barely anybody in the church. This thing is just sitting right here for me to discover. And like, how many other 1,000 gems are there like that throughout this city? And there are, just like you say, when you're walking, if you see an open door in a church, you should go in there, because you're going to see something you're never going to see over here in the United States.
It's amazing. The thing about them is our churches, they'll have nice pews, they'll have nice carpeting, or, they'll have few stained glass windows and all, but there's not a square inch on those things. They're not decorated. They made them. Right. They made them to impress. Back when they made them to impress God. We won't give you our best because this is what we think. Now it's just not like that over here. I mean, some of the ceilings in the churches over there just I can't even describe them. One time I was doing a space, and the guy kept asking me, like, describe this, and I said, I keep using the same word over and over, like it's just wonderful or beautiful, but there's really no adjective. And that's the reason I like to take the pictures of them, so you can see what I'm seeing, and maybe it hits you, but there's nothing like being there. There's nothing like being there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I try to do the same with my account. I know there are people that, whether because of schedule or money or health or whatever, they're just unable to travel to these places. And so, you can see the Instagram postcard picture all day long, but I try to bring you the details of, up close, this little thing that, you're not going to see anywhere else. Or I'll try to record a video of climbing the dome of St. Peter's or St. Paul's in London or something like that, and share it with you so you can have that experience too. So, if you're not following me, I hope by the end of this you will be, and check out some of those. Ao, you've turned me on to Roger Scruton. I don't want to go in two different directions here. We're headed towards the Borghese Gallery. You've got some pictures you're going to share with us, but we're talking about beauty. You've talked about Roger Scruton before. I'm going to read a couple quotes here from him. Maybe you can talk just a little bit about beauty as we turn our attention to the Borghese Gallery. Okay. So Roger Scruton, and he was an English philosopher and writer. He passed away not that long ago, but he says, beauty is an ultimate value, something that we pursue for its own sake, and for the pursuit of which no further reason need be given. I think a lot of people, I've heard him contrast before people that try to talk about beauty, and they say it's totally subjective, and anything that I want to call beautiful can be beautiful. But I think like what he's pointing out here, and what I've heard him say in other quotes is it's beautiful for its own sake. It's not self-serving. It's not, I don't get to decide if it makes me happy or whatever. Something that's beautiful should be uplifting to people in its own value. It's not something like I get to say whether it's valuable or not. Do you agree with that, or do you want to expand on that?
Well, your guest last week, Culture Explorer, he and I, we spar about this all the time.
Right. I love it. Yeah.
I occasionally get tired of beating him, but I'm just kidding. He's my buddy.
Yeah.
I say that beauty is objective, and it's very easy for me to show it to you, but it's hard for me to describe what it is. But I can show it to you all day long. It's hard to describe the color red. There's a lot of things that's hard to describe in language, especially this visual. I want to tell you, I do want to say this about beauty is that the worst phrase in the history of the English language to me is beauty is in the eye of the beholder. No, it's not. You can look now. If you look at Michelangelo's dome sitting over Bernini's baldachin, you can say, okay, I like the dome. That's fine because they're both beautiful. That's where the subjectivity comes into it. You can prefer one beautiful thing over another beautiful thing. It may mean something to you. It may, you may dislike the way that style. Like I like Gothic, but I also like Garnier. So you can like that, but just to declare yourself the judge and that this is beautiful because I say it is. And we were doing a space and we had a guest on, and I think her name was Megs, but Meg said she came up with this quote, and I've always liked it: is that beauty is obvious, but ugliness comes with a lecture. And they have to tell you, if somebody starts telling you why this is beautiful, it's probably not. It's obvious. I mean, you look at Caravaggio, and everything doesn't have to be objective beauty to be great art. Like, I like Dali. I don't love Dali, but I like it. I like Escher. All these things but they're skillfully done. I don't mind art that's skillfully done. It doesn't have to be objective beauty, but we should hold those people up, the masters up, and say these guys are in a completely different category.
Yeah, I think I'll throw this out there. Maybe it holds water, maybe it doesn't. An analogy that I've kind of thought of, like, okay, there can be beauty, and there can be, I'll call like different flavors of beauty. Like sometimes in India or Japan, it's performed this way and looks this way, and in Rome or somewhere else, it looks this way. And think about it like food. All right, we can talk about food that's good for you. This is healthy food. This is good for you. I can go to Japan and have a totally different meal with a different palate than what I might have in any of these other places. But they would all be good, healthy food. It's uplifting for my body. It's not destroying me or anything. Somebody could bring me a plate of broken glass and they could say, oh, this is good food. And we can objectively say, no, that is not good food. It does not, it's not good for your body. It's going to destroy you. I don't care how hard you try to argue for it, or you think it's good food. It's not good food. You might think it is, but you're deceived. So I think that's where, when people talk about eye of the beholder, I think we're talking about like flavor. Like I like this flavor or I like that flavor. But I think we can agree that there are things that are beautiful, and then there are things that are imposters. And no matter how much you try. Let's see if I got another quote here. Another from Roger Scruton says, the experience of beauty points us to a realm beyond the everyday, lifting us above our immediate desires and concerns. And again, I think it's this like uplifting thing. one more quick, heat or energy, I should say, is existent throughout the universe, and it appears in different ways. Sometimes it's light, sometimes it's heat, sometimes it's different forms of energy, but it's all energy. Okay, and I think it was Plato. Other people have talked about this too. That like beauty is like a medium for the divine, and like truth and goodness and beauty. When it's something visual, or maybe even for music, something that we hear, the divine can appear in beautiful form that way. And other times it's through goodness, good acts, or things that people do that are uplifting, or truth. But those are things that we don't create, we don't decide. We can do our part to be part of that, or to uplift it or point it out or share it with others, but we don't get to decide what it is. I think that's the main argument kind of that Scruton's making here.
Yeah, he said, the beauty of the flower is the flower, and it's worthless. I think he was quoting Oscar Wilde. Said that beauty is worthless, but in its worthlessness is its value. Because if you can transcend this world by looking at especially a piece of art, I do both. I do art and I do nature, and I'm going to try to do a couple trips this year to show people both realms of it. But a daffodil does it. A daffodil is beautiful, but it doesn't really do anything. But what it does to you, not what it can do for you, I guess is what you're
right. It's not serving me other than just being beautiful. Yeah, I can't capitalize off of it or anything. Yeah, that's important. All right, should we turn to the Borghese Gallery and look at some of your photos from there?
Certainly.
All right. Now, can you kind of okay, Bernini, I'd seen some of his sculptures online, but I never really know who he was or about his works until I saw on your account. And you definitely have hit me over the head with Bernini. And I've taken the Bernini pill. So you want to tell us a little bit maybe why you like him, if it isn't obvious to people, and just like what is the Borghese Gallery and just kind of your experience there?
The Borgheses were a very prominent family, had a lot of money. He was doing all this around 1618 to 1625, where he was working for the Cardinal Borghese, and the guy just collected art, and he got I think his father, Bernini's father, Pietro, he did some stuff for him. There's a couple things there that he did in it, but Bernini himself, John Lorenzo Bernini, he let's see, how do I want to say this? I mean, he was like a polymath from what do they call it? Savant. I mean, when he was 9, he was doing stuff. He was doing stuff, and people were like, their mouths flying open. So by the time he got to, I think he was 23 when he did Proserpina. And the first one I saw was Proserpina, and it was kind of like my Gothic deal. I saw one, and then I started studying, and I started going on and on and on. I mean, I was just blown away. I've never seen anything like Proserpina that had that effect as far as a statue. Now, I don't think it's not even my favorite statue, and I don't think it's the one that means the most. I don't think it's even the most difficult, because if you look at, there's Apollo and Daphne's up on the screen. If you look at that, that's a woman turning into a tree. So, and a guy chasing her. I mean, it is to sit there and look at it. And then I don't know if I sent you the pictures or not, but there's a couple pictures from the backside that nobody really shows, where you can see more of the tree from, I guess it's the right side if you're standing on in front
I think I've got Proserpina from the backside, but not Apollo and Daphne.
No, okay, but I'll put them up. I'll like attach them when you post this. I'll attach them. The backside that nobody sees, but that to me was the most captivating part of it, because I mean it is incredible what's going on the backside of that statue. So, But that one there was done. He started in 1622, and he did it until 1625, and he finished it. And that was the last one that he did for. Well, not the last one, but it was kind of the last major one for Cardinal Borghese.
Okay. You're talking about Apollo and Daphne or Proserpina?
Proserpina, I think he did in 1623. I think it was.
Okay.
1622 to 1623, he did that one. Now there's David. And this David, in comparison to Michelangelo's David, is a David in motion.
Yeah.
Michelangelo, they say that he sculpted his David to the moment just before he started moving. He was thinking about it. But this David is the moment just before he actually steps in and throws the stone and hits Goliath.
Yeah.
And that's what that was about. He was fighting Goliath there. So to me, this one, I like them both. I like this one because I just like Bernini. I think that if he would have had the size to do what Michelangelo done, it would be they'd be a little bit more comparable. People might think like this one, but Michelangelo's David is just gigantic.
It is, yeah. This is great. I love the tension and the motion, and what's about to happen, and just the resolute look on his face, the focus. It's fantastic.
I think the way his brow is, and you can tell his eyes are staring at their own target, and then look at it the way he's got his mouth where he's kind of pursed his lips and biting his bottom lip there, getting ready to put everything he's got into doing the deed, and he just captured it perfect to me. Yeah,
it really is spectacular for sure.
This is the Aeneas sculpture. This was I'd probably butcher the name. I'll just call it the Aeneas sculpture. But anyway, this was from the Trojan War, and Aeneas was leaving after the Greeks got in and burned, and he escaped with his father back to carrying him, and then there's his little son behind him, and he left Troy and was instrumental in starting Rome. So he was a lot of the bloodlines from Rome, Romulus and Remus, and all that go back to this guy. So
okay,
and then you could say the guy, I think is Ascanus Ranchizes. I don't know which one the father is, but he is got, those are little gods that they had in their house. Those would be Trojan gods. And you can tell that the old guy can't walk. I like the veins in his left hand there and the forearm muscles in the father. And then if you look the look on Aeneas's face, is kind of dejected because he just lost everything he had and he's walking away with nothing. And it's beautiful. Now this statue is compared to the one at Santa Maria Sopra Minerva by Michelangelo. They said that Michelangelo influenced Bernini to do this one. So, and this is of the statues that this one gets the most pans, and I don't understand it. I just cannot understand it. I think it's a wonderful sculpture, but it gets criticized the most of all of them there.
Do you know what the criticisms are of it?
It wasn't up to just it. The way he did it, it wasn't. It just wasn't a great sculpture.
Well, let me say this, AO, and don't hate me. Don't unfriend me on X, okay?
Okay.
I love Bernini and I love Michelangelo. When I look at Michelangelo's David and the expression on his face, there are such subtle little details. There is such a life in his eyes, and you can see him thinking. He looks so alive. When I look at this sculpture, when I look at Aeneas, he looks more lifeless, and even in the abduction of Proserpina, it feels like the faces lack a certain lifeness or life that Michelangelo captured in some of his. But I will say this. Let me say this. Michelangelo had some stinkers, okay? And I posted about this the other day on X. Not everything he did was gold. Every artist has some stinkers that they're not so proud of. Michelangelo certainly did. And I know that this was, I think when Bernini was younger, so maybe he definitely perfected it in some ways. But that's one thing I like about Michelangelo's David over Bernini.
Right. I think this Aeneas sculpture, his wife just got killed, and they just burned the entire city. And I think part of what he was trying to show through his face was just absolute dejection. Because I mean, what if you have to? If your wife gets killed and you're taking your daddy and he can't walk and you got your little son behind you there, that's going to be a horrible day. I think he was trying to show that. If you look at his eyes, I think I see it in his eyes where he almost looks lifeless, but it also would be somebody that was kind of in shock. So,
yeah. So maybe that works. Definitely still a masterpiece. I'm not saying I could do any better, of course.
I don't think the guy ever did anything that was bad. And the sheer amount of things he did, people don't know about how many things he actually did. But it's like we just pulled up a picture of St. Agnes and Agoni. He worked on that church, and he did the sculpture that's out in front of that. So
okay. Yeah, it's funny how so many of these artists, they were so multi-talented. A lot of them were painters, a lot of them were sculptors, and then on top of that, they're architects. And it's just fabulous to see to see their different works in different forms.
But this church here, everybody goes. The church out in front of that is the Fountain of the Four Rivers.
Right.
I say it, Fumi Fountain. Well, that's the one that Bernini did, and everybody goes to see it. And I liked it. It's got a big obelisk sitting on top of it, and it's got the four rivers, four major rivers in the world, the big ones. And, it's a beautiful sculpture. I liked it. But I'm kind of like by the Aeneas sculpture. It wasn't my favorite. I understand it was beautiful. I understand it means a lot to people, and there was somebody standing around it at all times, all through the day and night.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm going to go into the church, and nobody really says that much about that church. But that church to me is the star of the show. I mean, it gets second building, but it is absolutely incredible to go into that church. I think I went 3 times.
Wow.
It made a massive impression on me.
Yeah, you made me regret not going in. For people that don't know, this is in Rome. This is just west of the Pantheon, and there's a large piazza. It's called Piazza Navona, and in the center is the Four Rivers fountain. I've got a video that kind of does a 360 in the piazza and looks at all the details on the fountain. So after the show, you can check that out on my account. But we're standing right in front of this church. We turn around and walk away, go back to the hotel, and then you're telling me this is like the star of Rome, and I've been regretting it since. So next time I'll go in there. But let's take a step inside here. You got some pictures of the interior.
Yeah, it just blew me away. That dome, to stand under that dome and look up under it, it's just I don't know. I sat there for probably 30 minutes. Just I took pictures, but I sat there for 30 minutes just being there. I distinctly remember telling myself, like, you need to remember this. You need to experience this, because I walked in and I wasn't expecting this. I mean, this one blew me away. Now, I'll say this. Everybody's got their own, individual ones they like. And St. Peter's is St. Peter's is incredible. I mean, St. Peter's is St. Peter's. It's almost in a different box. It's almost like the Mona Lisa. It's almost like Michelangelo's David. I mean, you got Michelangelo all throughout the building. You got Bernini all throughout the building. You got Raphael all throughout the building, and you got 100 more guys that you never heard of that are doing incredible things too. So to me, it was. But this one was something special about this one. I don't know what it was. I think it just all came together, and it was just. To me, this one was perfect. If I had to go to Rome and I had to go to a church and this was going to be my church, I would go to that one.
Well, it is definitely on my list for next time I'm in Rome, Lord willing. I will. I'll
Go
check
to
this
that
one
one,
out.
take your camera and spend some time because it moved, it really moved me. Now I want to say this too before we get too far away.
Okay.
The Sistine Chapel, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and Michelangelo did all the paintings on the inside of the Sistine Chapel, right? I have never liked the Sistine Chapel. Never liked any of the paintings. I didn't like the colors. I didn't like anything about that place, and I wasn't even going to go. But I took a tour because there was a few things on the tour that I definitely wanted to do. And
Yeah.
when you go into Sistine Chapel, you're supposed to be quiet. You're not supposed
Yeah.
to take pictures, and you're supposed to be quiet. You go in, you sit down, you look at it, and or walk around and look at it, and then you walk on out. But you're never supposed to rate. It was like a football scrum in there. Now I did not take any pictures in there
Right.
because they said the tour guide said, "Look, this is God's house, and we are not. I do not want you taking pictures in here." So, and some people did it anyway, and don't
Yeah.
talk. So I didn't talk, and I didn't. But to me, I've been to two places where I felt like the air was different, like almost like there was a charge in the air. There's something supernatural going on. Sistine Chapel was one. George Washington's tomb was the other. I expected neither of them to affect me like they did. But I'm going to tell you something right now. There was a lump in my throat at George Washington's tomb. And once you start learning about what he did and what he went through and all the sacrifices he made, and I mean, it just it
is a very special place.
It says you're approaching Washington's tomb, silence and respect.
Right.
It commands it, and the same was true of the Sistine Chapel. And I still like the Sistine Chapel, but you got to go to it.
Right. I'll say this: Beautiful Histories is tuned in. Her name's Shelly that runs that account, and she did a thread on the interior of the Sistine Chapel and some of the paintings in there, and it's pretty interesting. So I encourage people to check that out and give her a follow. She's a really good account, but she kind of goes through the meaning of a lot of these places and the details you might skip, and makes it a richer experience when you actually do see them. Let me throw this out there, just food for thought. I think a lot of times our experiences are either good. Well, I think all of the time our experiences are good or bad based on our expectations. So I've had, maybe everybody's experienced this. You tell somebody like, oh, you got to try this restaurant. It's the best restaurant ever. Or you got to see this movie. It's the best movie ever. And everybody's like, their expectations are up here.
Yeah.
And then they see this movie or taste this food and they're like, it wasn't very good. And it's not that that they normally wouldn't have thought it was good. It's they were expecting such greatness. And the flip side of that is, I wasn't expecting anything of the Sistine Chapel. And then it blew me away because it really is amazing. I think expectations, and that's one thing I worry about sometimes, is like glamorizing these places so much with these photographs. Especially people post all these photographs that are like photoshopped and there's no people, and it like everybody's expecting like, I'm going to go there and have it to myself. It's going to be perfect, and it's going to be all bright. And then you get there and it's dark and there's all these people, and then they're just like disappointed. So I try to share the real grit and grime of some of these places too. It's important to keep it in perspective. Let me share a funny. Go ahead, Ayo. Go ahead.
Let me tell you this real quick. I took pictures of Proserpina. I said that's the one that really just kind of wowed me. The hand and the thigh. But if you look at this, that's the right hand. But if you look at the left hand, it's almost as amazing up on her arm. But everybody I took a picture of are standing there looking up at that thing with that like amazed look on their face. And there's one when I got a guy, and I drew an arrow to him, and I said, this guy here, I don't know who he is, but that emotion is what gets everybody when they go see that statue. So
yeah, it is incredible. I've got it up here on the screen. Let me share a quick. So you weren't expecting a great deal from the Sistine Chapel, and then you were blown away. When I went there, I was very excited about seeing a Sistine Chapel. It was one of the top things I wanted to see in Rome, and certainly at the Vatican. When I went in there, the ceiling is very high and it is dark in there.
Right.
So, I was used to looking at photographs like up close of the creation of man and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get there and I'm like squinting, trying to see it. And like you said, there's all these people like kind of like pushing and going, and you're supposed to be quiet.
Right.
So we were being quiet, but there was a priest in there and he was shouting into a microphone, Silencio, Silencio, telling everybody to be quiet. And it was like, dude, you are freaking us all out. You are the loudest character. Like they can hear you, across the Tiber over there. So it kind of like was bittersweet for me. It was something I'll never forget, but it was not what I was expecting. It wasn't as good as I was expecting, but I've been back to it. And since I was already expecting it to be, not as great, I enjoyed it more the second time.
I would like to go do the morning tour, the morning open.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Opens everything up, and
yeah,
there's a video of that going in and opening that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And it's in the dark. He turns the lights on, and it all comes to life. But to me, I don't know. I think that I seriously didn't want to go because I didn't like any of the paintings.
That's so funny. That's hilarious.
Where the God touches man.
Yeah, yeah.
The fingers. I kind of wanted to see that because I thought
yeah.
That was cool, but the rest of it, I just didn't.
Right. Yeah.
I really, and I'm a Caravaggio guy, and I did not just never liked his stuff. But I walked in, and it was a very profound experience for me. So if you go to the Vatican, go through the Sistine Chapel, and hopefully they will do something about the people who's going in there acting like they are.
Yeah. So this is back to the Borghese Gallery. This is Bernini. This is maybe his most famous detail. You see this everywhere. Look at that. That is stone. And as you always point out, chisel and hammer, right? And look at that. It's incredible.
It is. It is amazing. It is amazing. And I got some of the pictures of all of them really, but I go down and take a picture of the block, the bottom of it, like the ground.
Oh yeah.
And you can see the chisel marks in there where they go around and we're carving it out. It's just
right, or it's still rough.
Incredible to me. And
it is.
People on Proserpina, they forget about Cerberus. The dog, the three-headed dog.
Oh yeah, three-headed dog. Yep.
You got the three-headed dog there. Now, how many three-headed dogs have you seen? So it's just, that thing just blows me away. I still don't think it's the most beautiful, but it's the most amazing. I guess, To me, the most beautiful is Winged Victory of Samothrace at the Louvre.
Oh, yeah. That is incredible.
I agree with beautiful history.
Even with her head broken off. Yeah, Beautiful Histories here says, speaking of the opening of the Sistine Chapel, it's worth the money, even if you have to skip a meal to make up for the cost, to take the early morning before opening tour of the Sistine Chapel. Much more relaxed and less crowded. You must not have the priest shouting at you. So maybe I'll try that next time, Shelley. Thank you for that.
Hey, do you know the Belvedere torso is in all throughout Michelangelo's paintings in the Sistine Chapel?
No.
Did you see the Belvedere torso when you went through?
If I did,
no heads, no legs below the thighs, and no arms.
This is in the Louvre?
No, it's in Vatican Museum.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure I did see it.
But it has no head, no arms, and no legs below the knee. And Michelangelo, the Pope they found it, they dug it up, and they sent Michelangelo out there, and he said it's perfect. I can't
yes,
it's perfect.
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, that's fantastic. He recognized it was beautiful, even in its broken state, right?
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, get back to beauty. I think you got to consider that because it's baked into the goods.
Right.
You can take like a Gothic cathedral. You can tear them down. You can burn them down, and there's nothing left but the skeletons of it. And people still want to go see them.
Yeah. Yep.
It's baked in. So.
All right. So I think these are the last sculptures you've got from.
There's the backside of that picture. You can see the tree there.
Yeah. Yes.
With the
okay.
laurel leaves coming up. And look at his cape.
Oh yeah. the folds and everything. Yep,
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, I think I said this was Proserpina earlier, but I was mistaken. Yeah, this is Apollo and Daphne. Just fantastic. Yeah, look at the leaves, the folds in the his robe.
Sorry.
Need to see it in person.
It is. Hey, now, if you want to go see that when you're in Rome, you need to try to get your tickets months in advance. Because I had a
Yes.
friend that went over there, and she tried for a month and couldn't get in. So you need to plan that out. I got in for 1 hour. Friday, the last hour, I got in for 1 hour. I got all those pictures of Borghese. I walked around, and you need 2 hours because there's a lot that I missed. You know, in that there's a room called the Dancing Nymph, or I can't think of it. What do they call it? I can't think of it. Anyway, it's a Roman sculpture that they found, dug it up, and fixed it. But there's 6 Caravaggios in that room.
Wow.
I got a video where it goes to 360, and there's 6 Caravaggios there. Now, if I had time, I want to sit there and I'm going to document every one of them with my camera. Come back and say,
Right.
he's doing this and it's this story. I mean, if I could go back, I would get a lot better trip. I really would.
Yeah.
I had a great trip. I'm not complaining whatsoever. But now that I've done it and I know what to look for, I would really love to. And like Beautiful History said, go to the Sistine Chapel. If you have to cancel everything else that day, go to the morning tour. And I want to go up the dome.
Yes.
I fell off a ladder.
Of St. Peter's Dome. I went up there and videotaped the whole journey, show you where to get your tickets and all that, some advice on how to do that. So check that out on my page after this. If you go to my account and just search Dome, you'll see a number of them, but the St. Peter's Basilica Dome climb is pretty spectacular. I do want to point out you're dead right about the first time you go, especially if it's your first time abroad, it's stressful. You're not quite sure what you're going to encounter, how things work, and if you didn't plan it all out ahead of time, get all the tickets, and you're trying to do that the day of, or you're waiting in line, it can be so stressful. You don't know if you're going to make it in time, how long it's going to take. It definitely, especially in the day of the internet, you have to, for instance, in Milan, to see the Last Supper painting by Leonardo da Vinci. It's only open on certain days. They only let 15 people in at a time to see it because they got to control the humidity in the room. And the tickets go on sale, I can't remember if it's 3 months ahead of time, or maybe it's like the quarter before, and it's really weird the way the calendar falls. So before I went, I had to set all these reminders. Okay, check on this day, and I would check on their website, and they'll be coming out soon. And like each day I had to keep checking, and then finally, the day of, and already they're being snatched up. This day is gone. This day is gone. This day is gone. I was able to get in, but you really, if you're going to go to see some of these beautiful places, you really got to plan ahead and make a good plan, or you will be sorely disappointed. But like you said, when you go back a second time, you got confidence. You've seen a lot of the stuff that you really wanted to see, and now you can focus on other details, or going back to see a favorite or seeing something new. So,
and see Trevi
it's cool.
End day.
Oh yeah. Show you found it spectacular. Ayo, let me ask you. You consistently say, once your culture is gone, it's not coming back.
Right.
Tell us about that. Why do you say that, and what does that mean?
Because I'll give you a little lead in, and then we'll get into it. But I say, because the Bernini was so fantastic for me, and so just bowled me over, I said, I got to think, it's like, nobody else, no culture anywhere else in the world produced a Bernini. Okay, there's Michelangelo. You could compare him to him. You could compare Leonardo da Vinci to him. There's a lot of people you could compare to him, but it's all in the Western culture. And I said, why does it seem like we're pushing the Western culture out? Because it was so head and shoulders above everybody else's culture. And I'm not saying it just to be saying it. I'm saying, okay, show me. And the Bernini challenge was show me anything that's half as good as Bernini. Show me
Yeah.
anybody that accomplished anything remotely close to what he accomplished. And, you know, I think I'm 454-0 on that challenge. But, you know, it just seems to me that we, Western culture now it's like we come up telling ourselves that we're bad. And we're not bad.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing thing that's ever been. And once it's gone, where else is it going to be? Where else is it in the world? You know, Reagan says if freedom, this is freedom's last stand. If freedom ends here, where's it going to be? I don't know. You know, and I said the same with art. You know, if the culture leaves here, and it's being replaced slowly, bit by bit, that's what I see. It's not coming back. And if it's not coming back in the same way, and it goes back to the English and Scottish Reformations to make a fine point, you know, what replaced those? You know, it's not the same. And I still say that beauty was baked into those cathedrals because people still go to see the remnants where they're torn, dilapidated, devastated. People still go to see them because it was baked into the good, and it just not the same anymore. So I say that we stand up and we you know, we ain't got to say that you guys are bad. We just got to say, look at this. We're not as bad as everybody makes us out to be. So let's start being proud of the culture. Let's start getting back to the culture, because I see it slipping. And that, you know, the political aspect of my account is no, this is too much. Don't tell me I'm this, that, and the other thing, because this is what I am. And I'm going to speak from my heart, and I'm going to speak directly to people where they can understand me with no flowery language. And I'm not pointing, you know, I'm not talking down to people. I'm just saying, let's look at this objectively, and you show me why is this art and this not art? You know, why can't we do this now? Why do we throw paint at a canvas and call it good now? Look, it's everything needs to go back to me, and let's start over and get out of all this guilt and you know, just the way the Western culture is perceived now is that we were bad, and we're not bad. We're head and shoulders above anything else.
Yeah,
and
that's not to say, you know, like everybody has done something wrong. We could look at any of these great men. You mentioned George Washington or Moses or David from the Bible. You know what I mean? Moses murdered somebody. David killed Uriah. He was an adulterer. Right. Everybody's done bad things, but you got to look at the whole of what they accomplished and say, overall, you know, this person, you know, really did some great things we should recognize and be proud of. It's the same for our country. Well, one thing I talked last week with Culture Explorer, and we talked about culture. I'm going to read this definition really quick. Hey, folks. We're coming up to the end of the show. It's time to answer your questions. So I'm going to ask a final question here of AO, but please, if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. We will be taking these questions here, and really looking forward to hearing from some of you. But I'm going to read this definition. It's a little wordy. This is from 1828, Webster's Dictionary. It says the word culture, excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. Culture is from the word cultura, which means to cultivate. Okay, so think about that, cultivating like a young plant. Culture is the training, improvement, and refinement of mind, tastes, and manners, the result of mental and moral training. So think about what we think about today. Like when we think about culture, we're like, oh, it's the food we eat, it's the clothes we wear, it's the music we listen to, it's the art we make. And it is those things, but in this older definition of culture, it's talking about the refinement, like refining your mind, your tastes, your manners. It's for improvement. It's for training of like the next generation to carry on your culture. And the result of it is mental and moral training. And so it's almost like going back to our discussion on beauty, where beauty is not self-serving. It's not like for my use. You know, I think culture also has this higher value to it where it should not be about like, oh, you know, I want to be a rude, selfish person, and that's just my culture. that is like anti-culture. It should be what is good for our society, what is good for the world, what is promoting goodness, truth, beauty. And I just think that in American society today, so much of it is about like me, and it's kind of baked into us. We came here as a bunch of people seeking a better life, the American dream, and those are all good things, but we got to be careful we don't just get so focused on just selfishness of if I don't want to respect others, if I want to tear down a history that I don't like, if I want to tear down a belief system that I don't like, a religion that I don't like, then let's just become a mob and just tear it all down. And I think that is kind of what you're talking about too, AO. It's like you get this mob mentality, we're going to destroy everything. And it's like, instead of doing this, we need to be thinking about what's, right to train up the next people. Be honest about the sins of yesterday, but let's focus on the good things and let's promote the good things for the next society. So
absolutely. Everybody talks about the ills of the Western culture, but they don't ever talk about anybody else's.
Yeah, right.
Even the Pilgrims, the first Thanksgiving, the Indians were glad to see them because the other tribes, which nobody ever tells about, they were having all kinds of problems. They were making slaves out of them. They were killing them and everything.
Right.
So there's a lot that's talked about. There's a lot to be proud of. There's a good bit to be, we need to do better at. But don't tell me that it's not the best culture in the world, because why does everybody want to come here? Everybody else from everywhere else wants to come here because we're bad? No, we're good. We're good.
Right.
We got the best artists. We got the best art. We got the best culture. We got the best dance, music, everything. But it's slowly going away, and now it's getting where we can't even decide what's a man and what's a woman, and
right.
I can, my grandmother can, but I don't know that my son's children are going to feel the same way, because we're getting further and further and further away from the shore.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, let's go look at this art and this culture and this and truth. Objective beauty and objective truth, two sides of the same coin. I think it just aggravates me to no end to people to disparage all this. And then I'm saying, let's turn back, let's look at this, and let's think about it objectively. And
absolutely,
if we're so bad, why does everybody want to come here?
Right. And this just to make full circle, that is why your account is so important, AO, is because you're sharing this, and we're living in a digital age. What I love about you is, and I'm getting this way too. I got to ask my kids more and more for help with technology, and I just get tired of like, okay, they changed something else, I don't want to change again, but you have like embraced this medium, and you're sharing all these great things, teaching your contemporaries and the next generation about all these wonderful places. Folks, if you got any questions, let's drop them in the comments now. We're going to be wrapping up here in a few minutes. Looks like Liberty Mom says, thank you, Mad, for using Webster's 1828, part of a very small group that even knows what it is. We used it a lot when we homeschooled. Excellent resource that I highly recommend. Yeah, thank you for that, Liberty Mom. Thanks for listening tonight. We really appreciate that.
Hey, Liberty Mom, we do a lot of education on our spaces too. And we did the last one we had Rachel Terry on. I don't know if you know Rachel, but she's a really good person, and she's been on Spox, and she went from basically like me to just she was a homemaker and housewife, and she got involved in her kids' education. She wound up writing books, going on Fox and everything else. So we're very I think education is part of it. And I do want to say this before we got to go, is that some of those cathedrals took 600 years to build. And when you started it, you knew that you was not going
Right.
not going to see the end of it. You knew that your
Right.
son wasn't going to, but
Right.
there was a continuation. They wanted that culture to be passed down generation to generation to generation. And
Yeah.
I don't see that now. It's like the next quarter is what businesses look at.
Right. Right.
Because they got to get the 401ks have got to be kept up.
Yeah.
Stock price,
Whatever the flavor of the week is, that's what they cater to, and that's what they care about. Yeah. Well, I will say this: when I've been to Japan twice, and I was so impressed by the culture there, the respect, the honor. Now they've got problems too. I'm not saying that they're pure, but there is such I work with a lot of Japanese, and there's such a care about where they came from, their ancestry, their tradition, their family, honor, the society, culture, the children. Like they put kindergartners on the subway system, and they got to change trains, and they send them to school that way. And everybody like looks out for that kid. If this kid gets lost, a stranger, am going to help them get on the right train and get where they need to go. And like they just live that way. So we can expect better, and we can promote better. But I have seen, great things like that displayed over there. Beautiful History asks, sometimes I feel like I live in a void with very few personal acquaintances who are interested in art and culture. Do you two have the same experience in your personal connections? I'll answer first, AO. Yeah. And it's kind of bugged me. I've always been an artistic person. I've been talented. From a very young age, was drawing and very well, got into painting, oil painting. And I've always had like this criticism or felt this from people like, oh, only weirdos do art, that's for girls or for guys that are confused or like, I always felt like that kind of thing. And I don't know why, because I don't know. It's just bad that sometimes it has that, like this, you're not macho if you like art or something like that. I don't know. I still enjoy it, but it is hard to find. I've got a very dear friend, Cody Wood, and he's an artist. And so we have some rich conversations, but I think that X has been great. Shelly, that's something I really enjoy about you is your love for art, and you're able to like explain things to me about it. So it's really great. What about you, AO? Is it difficult? Do you have friends that are into this stuff?
I don't have a lot of friends that are into it. I do have some like-minded people over here. But let me tell you this. There was a guy, and it was like a little gathering. I wouldn't call it a party, but it wasn't a party because I don't party anymore. But it was like we got together and had it was like entertaining, I guess you'd say. So, and this guy was a NASCAR crew chief. All he had ever done in his entire life was race cars. Okay, so where's he? You're not going to run into him at the Borghese Gallery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So his brother, his son-in-law had been to Italy, and he said, "Do you know what?" He showed me a picture of a church ceiling, and he said, "Do you know what this is?" Because he knew I was taking pictures of Italy and everything. And he said, "Do you know what this is?" I said, "Yeah, it's a church ceiling." I said, "I think I know which one it is." I said, "But if you'll send me the picture, I'll find out for you and tell you which one it is." He said, "You know what I thought it was?" I said, "What?" He said, "Camouflage." He said, "I thought he sent me a picture of camouflage." And I said, "Well, if you think that's," I said, "Look at this." And I had that Proserpina pulled up there.
Yeah.
I said, "Look at this." I said, "That's a piece of marble." I didn't get my phone back for 10 minutes. He took off with it and just was showing just freaking out, like, can you believe this? So people don't know. And that's the reason I think it's so important for us to do what we do and to find ways to get it out further than just the X people. Because once you see it, there's no denying it. It's beauty. It's obviously beauty. And I understand what you're saying. Like everybody wants to be the football captain, but nobody wants to be the artist. I think that's just the way the culture's changed. And, but the more skilled you can get at it, the more people are like that guy where he just goes grab my phone. I mean, this dude took off. I ain't seen my phone. And he's sitting there going through it. And I'm like, I wonder what he's doing to my phone there.
One thing I've noticed is as you develop, okay, I'll try to use another food analogy. I love food. Okay. You can develop a taste for a fine wine or for like some French dish that to just the common everyday person that's never had anything like that, it seems foreign, it seems gross, but you can they can be taught to appreciate it, and like once you do that, it like opens this whole world to them. Okay, and then they realize just how delicious and good this new thing is you've opened to them, and it feels like that way. Yeah, it feels that way about any kind of art almost. Like as I get to appreciate architecture more, I appreciate paintings or sculpture more, and vice versa. And as I appreciate classical music more, it's like there's all these things that are connected, whether it's just such a high level of execution or symmetry or you can't listen to a classical piece in 30 seconds and just like take it all in. It takes like time to slow down, stop, listen to it like almost on a subconscious level, and like take it in and hear what the musician's writing about. And it's the same way, I think, you're talking about like just standing there in St. Agnes and like for 30 minutes just looking at the ceiling. Like that guy spent his lifetime designing this and working on it, and multi-generational. Like give him some credit and stand there for a few minutes and appreciate it. And you start to notice all these details and there's these intersecting circles and this golden ratio and these thirds and all this stuff starts coming together. You can see that in all these different ways that art is expressed.
It's beautiful, and you can tell it's beautiful, and you sit there and look at it, it's beautiful, and so look at it, but then look at the people looking at it. That's what gets me. It's like everybody knows it when they see it. Like we can sit here and argue about this or that, but you go stand in front of it, and and the guy across the street there knows too. It's got that effect on you. Now everybody's not the same. I'm not saying that, but it does have some sort of effect on people because it really blew me away. I mean, it was an incredible trip, and it made this much of an impression on me. I'm still doing it later and still planning. I'm planning on going to DC and trying to find some American stuff that at least to compare with.
Yeah.
Go to the National Gallery and not the National Gallery, the National Cathedral. The National Gallery, I think, is I ain't gonna say. But
you're gonna see a bunch of modern art, I think. There'll be some classics, but still, yeah.
But I mean, it is just incredible. And St. Agnes, St. Agnes, Proserpina, and Sistine Chapel. Those are the highlights of my. Of course, St. Peter's is St. Peter's. The whole thing. You walk in, you just go, "What is going on here?"
Yeah.
I got to go under and see St. Peter's actual tomb.
Oh wow!
Directly under the baldacchino, and you got to look through the baldacchino at the chair of St. Peter back there, and they were having a mass there, and it was just, I was like, my God, this is incredible, and I just want to go home.
Right. Yeah, I would love to see the actual tomb. I've stood at the baldacchino and looked down the stairs, but I was never able to go any further than that. But I cracked up with that. There was that video about 3 weeks ago of some knucklehead climbing up on the altar there and throwing stuff down. I think your words, some of them are like, if I would have been there, I would have whooped that boy's ass or died trying. It was something like that.
Yeah, somebody's going. If anybody, I told the Trevi Fountain, they poured charcoal in it, that stop oil group, and I told somebody, I said, I'm gonna tell you, I'm older now, and I ain't as bad as I used to be. But I said, I don't know if I can stop them, but I'm gonna get wet because I was gonna be right in there with them, and I'm telling you right now, I see that.
Right. We need more people to stand up like that. We got a final question here. Liberty Mom says, does AO plan on going to any other European countries besides Italy?
Yes.
What's next?
I was to England last year, and, it's like this DC trip. Life has just got in the way, and I got a lot of things going on, and, a lot of it's not good, and I don't want to go into it, but a lot of things are not like I want them to be, but it is definitely on my mind. I definitely want to go back. I want to go. I got a lot of friends in England. The Cotswolds and
Yeah.
Scotland. My family supposedly originates from Scotland on my father's side, and I would like to go over and just see if it resonates, because I like fog. It's like
Oh
fog and
yeah.
old buildings, and Edinburgh's
Yeah.
just a captivating city. So,
Yeah.
yes, I am going, and I don't know exactly when yet. So.
Awesome. Well, when you do, I definitely want to see your pictures, and we'll talk about that some more. I had the opportunity to go 2 summers ago. I'm going to get these confused. Yeah, 2 summers ago, and spent 2 weeks. We started off in London. We went west to Bath, and we went through Salisbury, Jurassic Coast. We saw Stonehenge, and then through the Cotswolds up to York. York is fantastic. Bath is fantastic also. But then we ended in Edinburgh and did the Highlands tour and saw all that. But yeah, when you go, spend some time in London too, because London is it's well, I don't want to say too much. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on the place, and then I'll share some of mine. But Ao, are there any final thoughts you want to leave us with?
No, I'd say the only thing I say is don't listen to an art critic. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody to tell you how to feel about anything. Just look. It's art. Look at it. It's architecture. Look at it. There's going to be different styles. I'm always going to like Gothic more than anybody else. I'm just going to, but I like all kind of styles. So don't pay attention to what you're supposed to do. Don't look at Picasso as a Picasso. Look at it as a piece of art. Are you looking at branding? Or are you looking at a commercial? Or are you looking at a piece of art? And if you look at Picasso and tell me that's as beautiful as a Caravaggio, then good luck.
Yeah. Great. Well, I really want to thank you, Ao, for coming on tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. You always have great insight, great things to share with us. I want to tell all of our viewers, next week we got a special guest. Let's see if I can get it to show here. Maybe. Let's see here. Maybe. There it is. We have The Ways of a Gentleman coming next week. And next week, we're going to start at 8 p.m. instead of 7, okay? So I think this is going to be a great discussion. I think it's going to pick up on a lot of what we were talking about tonight with culture and where we're headed and what we can do to improve things. So check that out. And Ao, thanks again. And everybody, have a great night. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.